Hey, this is Chuck Worley with the 757 House Whisperers Show. Thank you guys for joining us every Wednesday night from 6 p.m. to 7 p.m. Hopefully you guys aren't stuck in too much traffic. Did it rain ever on the south side? I think it rained a little bit over here. It was kind of drizzly. It's great for painting.
Right.
Yeah, it's great for painting. So people don't realize how many trades are affected by the rain. Of course, landscapers, roofers. There's a lot of trades that are affected, but they get to sleep in today. So if it rains, but hey, this is Chuck Worley. I'm gonna introduce everybody here tonight. It's me and Jack tonight. We will introduce our other co-host. I am really excited about this hot weather, Jack.
Why is that?
I am really excited about this hot weather. We were already busy. Now we're past busy.
Oh my goodness.
It is ridiculously. So not a lot of people like me, but I am everybody's best friend right now. They're like, Chuck, buddy, pal. I haven't talked to him since high school, but we're pals now.
I believe it. I believe it.
I got the bat phone ringing off the hook right now. It's like, hey, I called your office, man. Can you move me up in the schedule? It's been a little crazy the last week, and it hadn't been crazy hot. It's just been kind of
humid.
Hot, yeah, humid, like the rain. And it was I was working on my farm on Friday, and she was a little steamy. It wasn't hot. Like it was, I think it was less than 80. Were you working on the farm this weekend? Like it, Damien? And it wasn't terribly hot, but humid. I was dying. I had to wring my daggone shirt out. I had to change a couple t-shirts out. It was but it wasn't hot. It was just humid.
Yes, so, miserably oppressive with the amount of humidity, which is a perfect time that one of my next projects and something, Worley's could do, or Albin could do, or 757 House Whisperer, somebody on here could do. But I'm going to probably do it myself. But adding an outdoor shower, kind of like an Outer Banks thing, because, you're pretty much showering in the sweat and the heat and the funk anyway.
Yeah, that's a great idea. I love people that put little like outside areas, they're working or whatever. I got a 5-acre farm. My outdoor shower looks like a spigot. So I just spray it down, or Julie sprays me down like she does. She wants to get one of these Hereford mini cows. So I said, what are we going to do to wash them down? She goes, I'm going to stick them next to you, next to the hose, and I'm going to hose them down too. But anybody who's never seen a mini cow, Hereford, that is the cutest animal on the planet. Cutest little animal at 600 pounds. So,
hey.
Yeah, but it's better than a 2,000-pound Angus, So a friend of mine's like, what are you doing? Are you raising them to eat? I said, well, you don't name something you're going to eat. That's the rule. So we will be naming all of our animals, so they will not be eaten. But hey, I want to remind you guys about the 757 House Whisperers Show. I am the founder and host of this show. I came up with this idea years and years ago, and finally, some of you guys remember Keith Bales. He was my best friend and passed away in 2012. He had a show that we combined with a couple other contractors at Hampton Roads Home Pros, and kind of we were on I think once or twice. I think it was once a month or twice a month, and I wanted to do something like that, but more disciplined, doing it every week, which I will tell you guys is a big commitment. Trying to do this every single week. It's 52 times a year, which doesn't sound like a lot, but it is a lot, right? So, preparing for the show, getting ready for some of your hard questions. So I want to remind you guys, 627-7979. I want you calling in, asking questions. I got the paint expert. I got Legacy Painting here. I got Big Jack Keller here. And you can't stump him. He's 25. You cannot stump him in the painting business. He's over here tapping his foot. He's a little nervous. So someone's going to throw you a curveball tonight.
I'm ready for it.
All right. So, yeah, definitely call in 627-7979. Anything having to do with construction, heating and air conditioning. Obviously, we got a lot of sweaty ductwork right now. People are calling in. I need a new duct system because my duct's sweating. And so I got some science. I'm gonna go over that again tonight. I like to kind of remind people what is happening in their house. I am a building science geek. There's not much about a house I have not seen before or tried to figure out. So I say all the mistakes I made 20 years ago, I'm now teaching people not to make it today. So, but I am Chuck Worley. I own Worley's Home Services. We do heating and air conditioning, electrical, plumbing, crawl space encapsulation, spray foam insulation. There's not much that we don't do. I will also introduce Albin with Albin Co. Remodels homes. He did our whole entire 1,500 square foot farmhouse and made it ours. Me and my new wife of 4 months, Miss Julie Bartley, who is the most amazing person on the planet. I should confirm that by the fact that she married me. So she is a saint. And anybody that doesn't believe it, I typically tell them she married me, and they're like, oh, yeah, she is definitely a saint. So I am very grateful to have her in my life. So anyway, I will also introduce, who do you want to introduce?
Whoever you don't want to.
All right. I'll introduce Michael Davenport. We've been friends for 35 plus years, CVP Windows and Doors. He is a good friend and a great contractor. He has been fixing houses and inspecting houses. He does third-party inspections on houses, and like people do bad jobs, and he'll be a third party. I know he's been to court several times. He is just a very, very smart guy. So, but when okay, so you go ahead. Yeah.
Hey, everybody. So my name is Jack Keller. I own Legacy Painting. We're located over in Yorktown as well. We service from New Kent down to Virginia Beach. We do interior and exterior painting, mostly residential, but a little bit of commercial projects as well. We do some sheetrock repairs, so stress cracks, nail pops, any type of sheetrock imperfections we can take care of, as well as some basic exterior carpentry work. So, fascia board, fascia and soffit, whether it's carpenter bee damage or just some wood rot you're looking to get replaced before painting. We have some great team members that can help with that. And then we have Miss Cindy Rao with Alpha Pest Solutions. She is an expert in her field. Everybody I meet that knows Cindy loves her. She is a fantastic person, super, super caring and knowledgeable as well, just like the other members that Chuck introduced as well. Been doing it for a long time. If you have questions with crawl space, any type of critters, snakes, bees, hornets, stuff like that, she is the person to call. She is fantastic to work with and communicate with.
She is the only woman that we know
has a license to kill.
I'm always afraid she's going to get called from some spouse who's not happy. So you got this license. What's that look like? What is it? What do you charge for removal of a body? Just kidding. She doesn't offer that service, at least not yet, I guess.
Right.
But anyway, we do have a gift card that we will be mailing out to anybody who calls in with any question about your house. I think, did we have a trivia question?
I have a trivia question.
All right. So Jack has come up with a trivia question. Remember, 627-7979. Call in and answer any trivia question or ask any question about your house. I have a few on Facebook that have texted, and I have a few that have texted me on my phone. So we do have a few questions.
So the question, since we have all this hot weather and air conditioning is a big thing going on right now, the trivia question for tonight is what year was the first house with heating and air conditioning built in the United States? What year was the first house built with heating and air conditioning?
like new construction.
Yes, sir.
Okay. That's I don't even know that I know that answer. So that's actually a great question. I like it.
We're talking
like
forced air heating and air conditioning, right? Air to air.
Yeah. So of course, and I will help out. I don't know the answer to this, but I have a guess. I have an estimated guess, but I will tell you that I know that heating systems and duct systems were installed. Mike's taking a shot. Mike's taking
no,
a
it's
shot.
me. It's me.
Oh, is that you?
Yeah.
Okay, that's you. All right. So
guess.
we got some questions coming from the disc jockey booth. Okay. That's but the I do know that they we're installing ductwork and furnaces. And the reason I know that is I've been in this business since 1989, which how many years ago was that before you were born?
10.
God, you suck. All right. So yeah, I know. He called you 50. So I don't know what you're saying, Damon. He's like, Damon, he goes, man, Damon, you don't look anywhere near 40. And I was like, Damon, he didn't mean 30. He meant you look 50.
Yeah, no. Just, no. Too soon.
Yeah, too soon. Did you just turn 40?
Yeah, will in August.
Okay.
Hopefully.
Yeah,
that's the plan.
That's too soon. Well, that is the plan. Stop talking back to your wife. Stop talking back.
I know. Every time you mention Cindy having a license to kill, I always think in my head, yeah, you don't know my wife. She would argue with you on that one. And the license is the marriage license. We both signed.
Yeah,
it.
exactly.
Says,
exactly.
We said till death.
So yeah, exactly. I won't be a widow. Or no, what is that? I won't be a divorcee, but I might be a widow, right? So I know when I was getting into the trades in the early 90s and stuff, we were going and looking at these houses in the 60s, and they were all built. You couldn't buy a house that didn't have some sort of heat. We all remember the floor furnace, right? You go, you normally, dried your socks on the floor furnace in the middle of grandma's house. There was that big furnace in the middle of the hallway. You throw your socks, your underwear, your clothes, get it all dried up from being out in the snow. You'd put it on this little thing, or you'd put a clothing rack over top of it, and it would heat all the clothes up so it'd be dry, so you're ready to wear it again and go back into the snow. But then they started putting duct systems in. And in the 90s, when I started really getting into retrofit sales of HVAC systems, there was ductwork there. The problem with the ductwork, it was sized for the CFM according to heat, not according to air conditioning. So I won't waste another trivia question, but I will just tell you the answer is the heating CFM is typically can be half of what the air conditioner and the reason how I explain that to people is think about the floor furnace I was just telling you about. The floor furnace did not need distribution. Right? Does everybody know what that means? No ductwork. Right? It just put heat in the house. The heat will dissipate throughout the house. Even the second floors. They used to have some of you guys will remember the transition grill in the floor, of the ceiling of the first floor, the floor of the second floor, right? So it's like a transition grill. So the heat would just go up into that room or into that second floor and actually heat the entire second floor just by having an opening going to the second floor.
So would the second floor just be like way warmer than the first floor?
Yeah. Well, typically the transfer grill was only the size of, maybe 10 by 4, 10 by 6. So the amount of heat that got up there was just enough to keep it warm. But yes, science tells us heat rises, cold air falls. So the second floor is always probably going to be a little bit warmer than the first floor, of course. But in these, so the distribution there was no distribution. There was no ductwork on those floor furnaces. Now you think about a window unit. So a window unit, let's say you got it in the dining room, kind of go back to grandma's house, right? She's got a window unit in a dining room that kind of cools the whole first floor. Then she's got a room up or second floor. She's got 1 or 2, 3 window units on the second floor. But that first floor window unit, it was in the dining room. And how many degrees was that dining room? 12. It was 12 degrees in that dining room because that window unit ran all day, 24 hours a day, all night, all day, all night, all day for, 4 or 5 months, right? So think about that. The further you got away from that window unit, what happened to the temperature and the humidity? The further you got away from it.
Went up.
It went up, right? So it was, 42 in the dining room and kitchen, right? Because it was freaking 12 degrees. I mean, it's just so cold right next to the window unit. The further I got away from the window unit into the other rooms, it got up to 70, 75, 73. It was still cool, but it was not 40, it wasn't 12 right next to the air conditioner. So what's that mean? The distribution of air with air conditioning is more important, more tied to than heating. So go to the floor furnace. There is no distribution. The whole house is warm, right? Because it dissipates throughout the whole house. Then you go to the window unit where it's 12 degrees right next to it. And the further you get away, the temperature goes down, goes up, and the humidity goes up. So that's telling you that the air change and the airflow is extremely important in air conditioning, not so important in heat. So let's go back to the ductwork that we were talking about. The ductwork sized in these 1970 houses, 60 houses, 50 houses, they're like 3-inch duct, and with air conditioning, it needs to be 6-inch duct, right? So, and the reason that heat is because it would blow heat into that small duct, and it would just dissipate all over the house, right? With a forced air furnace. So air conditioning, to remind you, you need twice the size of duct typically for air conditioning than you do heating. And that's that. I remember this because when I was in sales in the 90s, which I'm very old, so and then that was before Jack was even thought of. 10 years, right? Before you were thought of, sucker. So anyway, when I was selling these units, so people are like, man, I got these ducts. They're fine. Like I've got this ductwork. I don't need ductwork. Well, ma'am, yes, you do, because the air, and I'd have to explain this floor furnace versus window unit. I mean, since the 90s, I've been explaining that. Distribution with air conditioning is so much more volatile. It's so much more important than it is with heating. So I'd have to rip out this perfectly good heating duct. And typically the other thing was they were not insulated. This heating duct does not need to be insulated. To think about that. So, yeah, people, that kind of goes into another subject I want to talk about, which I was talking about earlier, is sweaty ductwork, right? So if I have a heating system and it's blowing out, 100-degree air, and in the wintertime, the dew point's never going to hit. The delta T is never going to hit with hot touching cold in the wintertime, no matter how cold it gets in that crawl space. But during the summertime, it will definitely sweat because you got cold 50, 40 some degree air blowing through there, and hot, humid air touching the outside of that ductwork. It's going to sweat like a stuffed pig. I mean, it's, it is really, really going to condense or condensate. So it's, pulling out ductwork. People think they got a good duct system and they don't. I think most of them these days with, people they're not buying houses without air conditioning too often. It's especially in this this market, you can pretty much sell anything, but yeah, it's typically, if it's a tougher, well, we got Bill. Heat rises. All right, we got Bill, but we only have a minute left. So, Bill, I need you to hold on for a few minutes. We gotta take a hard break here at the half hour. So I will come back to Bill in Virginia Beach. But remember the number 627-7979. Call in. Do not wait till last week and wait till the last minute and have 3 people call in with 2 minutes left. It's not enough time to answer these questions. So good discussion on ductwork today. So give us a call, 627-7979. This is the 757 House Whisperers Show. Chuck Worley with the 757 House Whisperer Show coming back at you. We got Bill on hold. If you can hold on for a few more seconds, we're going to introduce everybody in the show. Call the number 627-7979. I want to shout out to some people on Facebook Live. We appreciate Andre Kemp listening to us and Miss Julie, Michael Landon. I appreciate you guys listening to the show every week. It's we are here to answer any questions about problems with people in their house. So when you call in 627-7979, I want you to call in with any problems with your house so that we can answer those questions for you. We got a call. We got a couple text messages. That number is 757-955-9415. You can text your questions in on that, and we will answer them online. You get a gift card we will send out to you, a Visa gift card for answering any questions or answering the trivia. So let's I'm Chuck Worley with Worley's Home Services. I do heating and air conditioning, electrical, plumbing, crawl space encapsulation, spray foam insulation. I might even have Andre Kemp come out and fix your air conditioning since he's listening tonight. So Michael Davenport with CVP Windows and Doors. And then Albin Co. with remodeling homes. And then we got our boy Jackie here.
Hey, everybody. My name is Jack Keller with Legacy Painting. We do interior, exterior painting, as well as drywall repairs, stress cracks, nail pops, stuff like that. Any of those drywall imperfections, bad seams, corner tape peeling, we can come out, take a look at it, fix it up, and paint it for you. As well as some minor exterior fascia and soffit carpentry repairs as well. Maybe some carpenter be damaged or just some wood rot. We can come out, take care of it, get it primed and painted as well. And I also want to introduce Cindy Rao with Alpha Pest Solutions. She does anything involving snakes, any types of critters, maybe in your attic, crawl space, termites, hornets, bees, any stuff like that. She can come out, take a look at it. She's fantastic to work with, to communicate with, and just is a really, really good, honest person to work with.
Yeah, she has sent us a couple of referrals this week that somebody had just had a brand new air conditioner installed, and the ductwork is literally blowing underneath the house. Like, she's like, it was cold under the house. I was like, was it cold in the house? She goes, that's why she called. Like, she saw one of the ducts was down and had some varmints under the house, and yeah, it's pretty sad. Well, let's go to Bill in Virginia Beach.
Hello.
Hello, Bill, Virginia Beach. How are you?
Yes, I can hardly hear you. I'm just going to say I've been listening to you guys for a while, and I keep hearing this comment that heat rises. But actually, hot air rises. Heat radiates from the source. So actually, heat does not rise, and neither does hot water. It is radiated from the source also. Now, in a water heater, it has there's a barrier which helps it collect hot water from the source, but heat does not rise. Hot air rises.
So I'd stand corrected. So hot air. So when I'm talking about heat rising, I am talking about air. Yes. So you were right. I need to be more specific.
The drywall
more specific.
Much quicker than hot air.
Say again. I couldn't hear you.
I'm sorry?
Oh, he's breaking up.
Yeah.
He's breaking up pretty bad. So, But yeah, so yes, we have those engineer types out there that like specifics and details, and
it's our physics lesson of the day.
Yeah. So I mean, am I perfect? Absolutely not. So
for the rest of the day, Chuck, I think you should call it a hot water heater. Just call it a hot water heater for the rest of the day to make everybody else squirm.
So yes, when I'm talking about heat rising, I'm talking about hot air is rising. So if you want to get down into the gory details, yes. So I'm glad I got a great self-image. You know, I am not perfect, so I will be more specific. Hot air does rise. So when I'm talking about heat rises, it is hot air is rising. So, but there's a lot of engineers out there, right? So I think I'd be used to it since, you know, I live so closely to, you know, NASA engineers. You know, I actually was doing a gosh, this is years ago. I was doing a sales call for a guy, and he was having problems. You would have loved this job. His whole first floor sheetrock came down.
Oh my goodness!
Right, because what happened was he was keeping it. Now this was a very, very, very large man. I'm a big man. He made me look like Tiny Tim. Right, so they can't hear. Yeah, it's fun. So anyway, he is. I want to say he's probably 500 pounds. Like, he is a big guy. 6'5". I mean, definitely a football player, right? So he keeps it 64 degrees in the house. Okay. I have never walked into a house where the thermostat was set below 70 that I didn't see some issues with mold and mildews and stuff. So when I walk into a house, the first thing I do is go to the thermostat to see what they have it set at. If there's a mold and mildew issue, I promise you there's a 90% chance that it is running under 70, 69, 68, 67. I mean, my son does it, and he owns half the daggone company. I mean, he knows better, but he's like, look, I want to be cold. I'm like, okay, try spray foam. Like but I mean, it is funny. But they don't have any issues with, you know, mold or mildew or anything, and it doesn't happen in every house, right? Because you got to have the hot touching the cold and the sweat and condensation and stuff. And he doesn't have any issues. But any house that I've ever been into that I had issues with mold or mildew, I typically would go to the stat, and I promise you 80% of the time that stat was below 70. So it's fine. I'm not telling people not to turn their stat to where they want. If you need it there, that's fine. But 64 is not the right number. Number one, what's it mean if you can get a house when it's 100 degrees outside? I'm going to see if Damon in his past air conditioning business has figured that. If a house can get down to 64 when it's 100 degrees outside, what's that mean about that air conditioner? Is it oversized or undersized? Oversized. Yeah. I can't hear you. Is your mic on?
Oh, no, I was way oversized on a 100-degree day.
Yeah, it is way oversized. So you're trying to...
It's a 20-degree differential, right?
Yeah, you want to keep... Yeah, you don't want it set. So if an air conditioner is oversized, the problem is going to happen is that you're going to have to keep setting the thermostat down and thermostat down and thermostat down. So it's going to cause your unit, it's going to cool, get to the set temperature too fast. And it's not going to run long enough to pull the humidity out of the house, which is going to short cycle, right? Which is what was happening with this big guy I was telling you about. What happened was the dew point, because the heat, the ductwork in between the floors was cold. What happened was he had a soffit between the first floor of the house was 24 by 24. The second floor of the house was 24 by 26. So there was that 1 foot soffit in between the floors. You don't typically see them like that. This house was up in Williamsburg, and what was happening was the heat was infiltrating with that 1 foot bigger second floor. The heat was infiltrating between the floors. That makes sense? So the heat's coming up in the soffit, like in an attic, but it was going between the floors, and he's keeping the AC at 64. So the dew point hits in between, and he loses his ceiling. It was unbelievable.
Wow.
Yeah. It was, So anyway, my point is, we were talking about engineers. I said, look, man, this is not rocket science. This is heating and air conditioning. Like there's math and science and hot, touching, cold. He goes, I am a rocket scientist.
Right in your last time you say that.
He was from NASA. The guy was from NASA. But
did you make the sale?
I did. No, we figured it out. I walked in there. I told you I'm a building science geek. So I walk in there. He had 17 people in and out of the house. Nobody could figure out what his problem was. I walked in the doors. I was in there 14 seconds, and I'm like, yeah, air's coming through the soffit in between the floors. And he's like, how in the hell did you? I said, because I can do math. Like, number one, you're keeping it too daggone cold. So what we ended up doing was putting in a dehumidifier and begging him to keep it at 70 or 69. But we put in a whole house dehumidifier. We ended up having to spray foam, pull all that sheetrock down and spray foam the joists in between the first floor and second floor. Spray foamed everything, the whole outside ridge to keep it. That's called something else. It's not a ridge. It's called, it'll come to me as soon as the show's over, right? But it's spray foaming the entire outside of the middle joists in between the first floor and second floor. Cannot think of what that is. Like I said, as soon as we're over the show, I'll remember what it's called. But anyway, we spray foamed that, and it stopped the heat from coming in between the floors, and then his ductwork didn't sweat.
I got a quick question for you, Chuck, on that topic of humid weather here. And by the way, if people just joining us at 757housewhisperer.com, you can get a consultation and find out everything you need to. But on the topic of hot, humid area like we have, and the humidity being such a detriment to the longevity of a house, tell me, do you find when you find houses that have humidity issues, like you said, you've never seen one that had the humidity, the thermostat above 70, do you find that people's houses that are newer in tighter construction have more issues, or an older house that actually breathes has more issues, and even if they keep the thermostat into the upper 60s or so?
That's a phenomenal question. These houses are a lot tighter now because they're doing blower door testing now. They're doing negative pressure testing. They're a lot tighter homes. They're using spray foam more. I mean, I told y'all the last couple of months I spray foamed my entire house, so the houses are really tight. But mine's a 1936 house, 1930, sorry, I had to hiccup. I had a 1936 farmhouse, so that house is just leaking. So even though I spray foamed it, it still has its old house, vibe. It's still leaking. But these newer houses, they are a lot tighter, and sometimes we actually have to introduce mechanical outside air, which actually is just a 6-inch vent, 6-inch duct going to the outside. It pulls outside air in and keeps a positive pressure on the thing, but it's pulling controlled environment in. So the hot air is coming in, but it's going through the air conditioner. So it's not like you got 109% humidity and 100 degrees, air coming in. So, but yeah, that's a great question. But typically the houses are so old, unless you're ripping sheetrock off walls and spray foaming and like everything, a house is never going to be too tight. I would say 2017 and before, 2015 and before, your house is not going to be too tight, So, but they are now. They can be extremely tight now, and sometimes we have to pull mechanical air in to stop that from happening. So, let's go to Andrea. Great question. Thank you, Andrea.
Extremely tight now. Sometimes you have to.
Hey, Andrea, will you please turn down your radio and you can listen to us on the phone? And again, we're online at WNIS.com, and everybody can get more info at 757housewhisperer.com. Andrea, you with us on the phone?
Yes.
Great.
Hey, how are you doing? Miss Andrea from Chesapeake.
I'm wonderful. It's a beautiful sunny afternoon. But I'm curious. I had my house encapsulated about 3 or 4 years ago, but nobody asked me about the roof or the attic. And it still's got all that little insulation stuff up there. So my question is, if it's so dire for that to come out the bottom, where they encapsulated, which that was one of the first things they took out, and everything looked like brand new, like that was just brand new yesterday. But is that also the issue up in the attic, or do I need to keep that up there?
That's a great question. And I always like to remind people when they call in and ask questions, not only are you getting answers to your questions, but you're helping thousands of listeners in Hampton Roads with the same question or very similar questions. So you have a twofold question. I'm going to go over to crawl space really quick, even though you got that handled because you encapsulated it. So the reason you don't need insulation if you encapsulate properly underneath a house, the reason you don't need insulation underneath there is because, let's say during the wintertime when you encapsulate, you're stopping the infiltration of hot or cold air getting into your crawl space. So by encapsulating, you're going to keep your crawl space. It's going to be on the average around 60 degrees. 60 degrees under your house. Your house is typically 68 to 70 degrees during the wintertime, right? So you got an 8-degree delta T between the crawl space and the house that you live in, right? The living space. So with an 8-degree delta T, you don't need insulation, right? So it defeats the purpose to have insulation when you encapsulate. Now, going up to the attic space. Now, if you spray foamed the roof deck, which I don't always recommend, but if you spray foam the roof deck, then you would not need insulation above your sheetrock, because you're taking the outside envelope and moving it to the top of the roof deck, right? So, or to the roof deck. So what we typically do is we suck out all the insulation that's in the house up in the attic. We suck it all out. Then we typically spray foam around your recessed can lights, around your pull down staircases, around your pull down staircases, recessed can lights. God forbid, if you still got those old fans in the house that was like a whole house fan, we pull all that stuff out. We spray foam and seal at the sheetrock, and then we blow in R30 insulation. Or excuse me, I said R30. We blow in R50 insulation in the attic. And what happens there is when we spray foamed, we stop the infiltration, right? We've stopped the infiltration of air, which is really important. People think the insulation, we have these companies out here, even some pest control guys, they'll blow and go. They'll go in and they'll just blow insulation on top of your insulation. And it's the worst thing you can do. Well, it's not the worst thing, but it's not fixing your problem. Your problem is infiltration, which is what your encapsulation stopped. It stopped the infiltration of hot air and cold air getting into your crawl space and causes humidity and mold and mildews and all that stuff. You've stopped that. You've stopped the infiltration. Now, going up in the attic, you can do it one of two ways. Spray foam the roof deck, or suck out the old insulation, which has animals, animal danders, animal parts, animal legs, suck out everything that's living in there or dead in that old insulation that's been there since your house was built. Mine was built in 1936. We pulled out cob pipes. We pulled, like old smoking pipes. Like we pulled out, glass bottles from Mason ball bottles from the 40s. So you suck out all that stuff out of there, and then you spray foam all of the accesses, the recessed can lights, the pull down staircases, any around ceiling fans. We spray foam that. So we stop the infiltration and separate the attic from the living space. Then we put in the R50 insulation, which is cellulose, which is not as itchy, and it's not pink, and that dense pack insulation stops any infiltration from getting from the attic to the living space or vice versa.
That roof line that they put in there, that straight across thing.
The ridge vent. Yes, that's called a ridge vent.
Yeah, is it going to affect that?
No, it's actually, well, if you spray foam it, yes, you want to spray foam that ridge vent too. So, but as far as as far as the insulation, like I'm talking about, sucking out the insulation, spray foam in the infiltration parts, and then putting in the R50, that will help it even more with the ridge vent, because the ridge vent was basically designed, you cut a hole across the whole entire part of the roof. Most people have solar fans or electric fans or ridge fans or what do you call the ones on the side? Gable vent fans. They're just pulling out the air in the attic. The problem is where all that air is coming from is your house. So you're actually pulling hot air out of your attic, but at some point you're actually sucking air through your recessed can lights. You're sucking air from your pull down staircase, and you're starting to suck air conditioning out of your house, which defeats the purpose. So by having the ridge vent, the soffit near where your gutter is, there should be cut an opening there, right? Jack paints those all the time, but he doesn't paint them closed, right? So you pulled off the vents because you want to leave that soffit where the gutter is. You want to leave that open, and then the ridge vent is open, so the natural air, the heat goes in in through the soffit and rises, right? So as everybody knows, as my friend just informed me, the hot air rises in the attic. The hot air rises through the ridge vent and out of your house. So that is the perfect situation for ventilation in an attic.
Okay. So I'll just have to give you a call tomorrow.
Okay. Yeah, we would love to take care of you.
I would love Alpha Pest as well. I think
I will have Cindy give you a call. She is.
I can't wait
to meet her. Awesome. She is awesome. She is tough. Now remember, she's not taking your spouse out like that. It's just bugs. She has a license to kill bugs.
Unfortunately, my spouse has been gone a very long time, 6 feet under. So it's already okay.
All right, that was a bad joke then. Sorry.
Yeah.
But thank you so much for listening to the show. Thank you for calling in. Like I said, I always like to remind people, look, you're calling in for yourself, really, but you're really helping other people. This is a public service announcement show. We love helping people, and we've been helping people one-on-one for 20 plus years, except for Jack, because he's not, what are you, 25 now?
25.
He's 25. We got socks that old, but it's cool that we're able to help more than one person at a time in our neighborhoods. So thank you again for calling in, and we will send you out that gift card. 757-955-9415 or the 757 House Whisperers Show. .com, housewhisperers.com. Yes. Thank you guys.
Thanks for calling.
The preceding program was sponsored and paid for by Worley Home Services, who's entirely responsible for its content.